Hello folks, thank you for clicking on my channel. I'm Alex, I'm the Devil's Advocate. I talk about movies, music, TV, video games, whatever I feel like talking about on this channel. This week is a big week for video games especially. Summer Games Fest is coming, we're going to be covering that. Tomorrow's the state of play. I don't know if we're going to cover all that, but we're definitely going to do some trailer reactions, so stay tuned to this channel. We also got some more Jay-Z albums coming out, or rather my reactions to them coming out. Lupe Fiasco, we're going back to the roots, literally the roots, and Tribe Called Quest, all on the horizon. I'm excited. Maybe Spider Noir? I haven't watched it yet. I didn't even know it came out. But I do know that this movie came out, and I'm very excited to talk about this. The Backrooms has released in theaters.
I don't understand. What is this?
It's beautiful. Am I right?
If you don't know what the Backrooms is, that's fine. It is a internet collective story. A creepypasta is what it's called, which is a play on copypasta, which is just kind of a story that's told and then copied and added onto later by somebody else on internet forums. Kind of a new age way of doing urban legends. And Backrooms is another one of these. Much like Slenderman, kind of the only other movie to do this, where it's just popular on the internet. A studio goes, hey, let's capitalize on this and make our own, especially after the tragic murder that happened because of Slenderman in real life. And then they made a movie, and it was just a Hollywood kind of slapped together thing. It didn't do well. People didn't like it very much. But Backrooms is a different story. It's A24. I'll show you the cast. The cast is very small. Chiwetel Ejiofor is here. I know him primarily from Serenity, from like 20 years ago. There it is. And then there's Renata, these names. Renata Reinsve. Who I don't know from anything else but this. I haven't seen. Where is she from? Sentimental Value, Worst Person in the World, Different Man. I don't know these movies. But she has a bit of an accent, and where is that from? She's from Oslo. Okay, Norwegian. Yeah, that makes sense. Because she's doing an American accent, but I can tell that she's doing an American accent. And most importantly, this movie was written and directed by Kane Parsons. Kane Parsons is 20 years old. He was born in 2005, okay? Born after YouTube already existed, which is crazy. And the reason he is the one who was tapped to make this movie is because he made some of the most popular versions of the Backrooms YouTube video series. So like I said, it is a collective internet forum kind of story where you kind of each person tells their own version of what's happening. It's less a story and more of an environment and an idea. The idea being, isn't it creepy walking around a place like an office building, like a hospital, like a football stadium, anywhere, even your own house, anywhere that's pretty big and is supposed to accommodate a lot of people, but when you're there alone, nighttime or daytime, but usually nighttime, isn't it creepy? Isn't it creepy walking around this big empty space alone? And Backrooms takes it a step further and goes, what if the architecture is kind of all over the place and weird and doesn't make sense? And also, what if there's something else in there with you? The basic premise is like, you can glitch through a wall like it's a video game. It's very video game coded. Like, again, this is more of an aesthetic than it is any kind of like cohesive narrative. Kane Parsons, his YouTube series has kind of introduced a bit of a narrative, but has kept it small scale enough for the horror of the Backrooms to still come through as just big empty spaces. And isn't it weird? And there's furniture kind of half coming through the wall. Birds can fly through by accident and like die by hitting a wall, because the whole point is like a glitch in the Matrix, where oh no, you kind of like fell through the mirror that Neo was touching, and now you're in this like kind of the back rooms of the Matrix. In the Matrix Reloaded, he's walking through like the hallway with all the different doorways. That's part of what inspired the back rooms. So this is going to be primarily non-spoilers. I will tell you when spoilers happen. But all in all, great flick. Great flick. They don't Hollywoodize it, right? So what you could have done was, oh, hey, it's the back rooms where there's different weird architecture and things are going to be changing around our characters, and they're going to get lost, and there's going to be a whole cast that, you know, dies in different horrific ways, and, you know, we gotta get out, and then the whole thing's shifting and changing at the end, and they get out, and blah, blah, blah. It really reminded me of, you know, again, they gave him this space to like, hey man, you made the YouTube series, you're very popular, kind of, here's carte blanche almost to do what you want. And he was still able to make it feel like bigger for the movie theater while keeping true to his own ideas that he put into his YouTube shorts. And also doing something new while keeping the focus mainly on Chiwetel Ejiofor and what's her name? Renate Reinsve. These names, I'm sorry. Keeping the story on them, and it's about their emotional journeys. And it's not too, I wouldn't say it's enough, honestly. Like, I could have used a little bit more characterization, specifically on those two characters, but it was just enough. So I didn't need it. I could have used it, but I didn't need it, and it's okay. I don't talk that much about horror on this channel. Go check out my like top 10 horror movies of last year, because I love horror movies, and I should talk about it more. We have seen several this year. Undertone was one, which I kind of feel like this is almost analogous to, because that was also very moody, and the thing that I came away with that movie thinking was that it was a cool atmosphere, and you did a really good job making us feel unsettled, but there was barely any payoff really, and the story was very threadbare and barely anything. There was cool ideas in there, like never showing anyone's face other than our main character, not really seeing anybody else other than our main character, and the whole thing was about sound, and the sound design was good, and some of the cinematography was good, but man, it just didn't deliver on the scares or a satisfying experience. Another movie I saw in theaters was Hokum. Loved Hokum. Loved Hokum. That one starred Adam Scott. It was about an Irish hotel where he's going to spread his parents' ashes, and the whole story is about he's a grumpy writer, and why is he so grumpy? Why is he so angry? Why does he push people away? And him kind of going through that journey, and then of course, and there's a witch locked somewhere in the hotel, and hijinks ensue, and that is a fantastic movie. I might talk about it later. If I do another wrap-up of horror movies this year, I might talk about that a little bit more in depth. But I love that movie. My wife loved that movie. She's been looking to go to a horror movie that actually scares her for quite a while. She was very disappointed with Undertone, disappointed with Weapons. And, you know, I will say Hokum really did the trick, and she really was satisfied with Hokum. Backrooms, she might have bit off a little more than she could chew, because she was squirming in her seat for most of the runtime. It is very, very uncomfortable. If you ever watched like Blair Witch or Paranormal Activity, the idea of like being point of view camera, walking around, and we got an analog camera, right? This is set in the 90s, I believe. So you got an analog like video camera, and a lot of walking around hallways and turning corners and stuff like that. And like right away, this movie plops you into the scares. We're plopped into the scares, but it's not just a one-off that doesn't like connect to anything else. It actually sets up the whole movie, which I also loved. The way this movie ties together in a very satisfying bow, while still leaving a lot of questions to be answered, and leaving it open-ended and not definitive was very interesting, very impressive, and again, amazing that a studio let him do this. Now, the studios that we're speaking about is A24, and he is not the only person involved in this. There are like 20-something producers, and a lot of these producers are famous horror people. So, here, let me throw this up on screen here. Some of the producers. We have people who've worked on Saw movies and James Wan movies. We have James Wan himself on this. Sean Levy, who has made like big budget. What did he did? Free Guy and Deadpool and Wolverine. You know, Osgood Perkins, who has also made some great horror movies that I don't think I've talked about in here. The Monkey I saw. Longlegs, I think I was thinking about Longlegs while watching this, in how little they give you about the characters and how much I don't think it mattered that much. It worked. It really, really worked in terms of just, here's just the slightest bit that you need and we're off to the races. Yeah, so there's horror legends in these producers who, you know, again, I'm sure A24 is like, yes, we want to hire you, the guy who made, you know, the most popular version of the YouTube stories, because there's other people who made their own Backrooms videos and stuff, but we want to hire you, but we're also going to have horror people around, so if you feel the need to, you know, hey, I don't know how to do this shot, here's kind of what I'm thinking, or they have ideas that they can bounce off you, all that kind of good stuff. And I love that. I think it works. This is a fantastic movie. Between this movie and Obsession that came out last week that I haven't seen, or no, 2 weeks ago that I haven't seen, but both movies are overtaking the box office. Shout out Dan Murrell for breaking down like box office and whatnot. Disney is worried with The Mandalorian and Grogu because that movie's not doing very well, and 2 movies by YouTubers are doing like gangbusters, which I love. You know, that's a good sign. Maybe, hey, if I get tons of subscribers, maybe I can make the movies that are in my head, show you the universes that you're missing out on by not giving me a big budget movie. But other than that, I just love the atmosphere of this film. It is very creepy. I'll say this. The only knock on this movie is like, yeah, I could use a little bit more characterization. It doesn't do the thing where other movies have that have lost me. I particularly think of this movie Baghead that me and my wife watched on like Shudder or something, where it doesn't feel that there's a real world outside of our main location. Even the movie Oddity, which I talked about in that video last year, watch that video, you'll like it. Oddity was all in one location. It was all very contained. There wasn't that many characters, but there were enough shots and like establishment of the real world, and then we're over here. Same thing with Hokum. The whole thing takes place basically in that hotel, but there's enough seeing him on the plane, seeing him like traveling to the place and being in the hospital. This idea of the real world is there, but like grounded, and then we're in this fantastical location. Sometimes a movie like Baghead just focuses on the fantastical location without grounding the movie outside, and that's kind of a problem, and then you lose, like, what do I even care about? Like, what is the threat here? Backrooms does ground the movie very briefly, a couple moments, very briefly. Her name is Mary. I'm not going to try to pronounce her name every time. Our lead female character, Mary, she's a psychologist, and we see her having like a dinner party or talking about other clients. We also see her little backstory. I guess we're in spoilers now, of her backstory, that her mom was kind of a shut-in, and despite the brief moment of happiness she had with her mom pressing their hands into the cement outside their house when they moved in, her mom became kind of agoraphobic and a shut-in and a hoarder and wouldn't let her leave the house until her mom presumably was carted away into the mental hospital, which we get a little background music of Midnight and the Stars and You, which is from The Shining, the end of The Shining, which I loved. Loved that little nod, because this is also very Shining. Liminal space. Liminal space is the name of the game. And if you don't know what that means, watch Danny driving around on his big wheel in The Shining. That's what it means. Again, a big empty space, a hotel. This gave me vibes of 1408 or Grave Encounters even. I was expecting a Grave Encounters moment where, like, I don't remember if it's 1 or 2, where they leave the asylum, they get to the car, they drive to the hotel, they're like, we're out, we made it out, and then they get into the elevator, and the elevator doors open, and they're back in the basement of the asylum. Like, that kind of mind game stuff. We don't get any, like, big set pieces, really, in the Backrooms. Like, oh, this is a giant complex. It's more claustrophobic, and I think it works for this. Like I said, there are tons of YouTube videos that are their own version of the Backrooms or something similar, and we get a lot of nods to that too, which I love. Kane Parsons, he knows where he came from, and he's like, yeah, I'm going to give a nod to this guy, a nod to that one. You know, you got some of the tile work and water work of some of the more crazy CG versions of the Backroom, where it's like, it becomes like an ocean and stuff like that. And I will say the monster in this makes, look, it's kind of cool to just have it be just a random thing, right? In the YouTube shorts and in the video games that exist of the Backrooms, which you can play and scare yourselves. The monster that's like hunting you is just kind of like an amorphous. It's whatever the creator of the thing wanted it to look like, right? In this, Chidobe Ejiofor Clark, his name is Clark in the movie. He runs a furniture store, and he's unsatisfied with his life. He's an architect. So you have your main character as a psychologist, the main character as an architect. This whole thing is about architecture and psychology and emotional depth and coming at it from that angle. It's very thematically, it works. So he's unsatisfied with his life, and he has 2 employees who don't really care about working at the furniture store, which is called like Captain Jack's Furniture. And he's doing one of those like, I'm crazy Captain Jack and I'm selling this furniture at crazy deals, like that kind of commercial. And then as we get like further and further, like he finds the Backrooms, and then he's like, oh my God, what is this? And then when he leaves again, he tapes it off the doorway in the basement. He's like, okay, so this is where the doorway is. And then he goes and recruits his employees. First, he goes to talk to his therapist, and he's like, I've kind of mapped it out. I've been there several times now, and I'm trying to map it out and figure it out. And, you know, she didn't really believe him because it's a crazy thing. And then we see him go get his employees who are dating each other, and it's like, all right, that's fair. And once they revealed they're dating each other, I was like, oh, we're not going to get much more characterization of these two. That's okay. Other than the dude is kind of very like, yeah, who cares? This seems fun. All right, you're going to pay me? All right. To go in there with my camera? No problem. And then the girl is very like reserved and, hey, let's not do this. This seems weird. We don't know what we're doing. We don't know where we're going. We just walk through a wall. What's going on? Again, one of my only knocks is none of the characters who are like skeptical, those two, or the therapist who comes in later, Mary, decides to call the police and goes like, hey, I just walked through a wall. Come here. Like, or, hey, there's a murder happening here. Police, I need you. And then show them, I'm sorry, I lied about the murder, but like, look at this. Look, I can go through the wall. What is this? We should get like the government here or something. And that's fine. Again, people make silly decisions in horror movies. But you just kind of see Clark's devolution through this film. And something he says to the therapist in the beginning of the movie, where they're kind of doing a role play of like why he's divorced. She's pretending to be his wife. He's talking about like the night she kicked him out and stuff, and how he drinks too much, and they yell, and he yells, and is that the reason that he's stuck in the place that he is, that he's not an architect? And he's like, oh, I am an architect. I'm just stuck selling crappy furniture because you're in law school and I have to pay for everything. That's kind of his conflict, his trauma. And so he, in the back rooms, kind of reveals, like, I want to stay here. After the employees are, like, get got and they're gone by the monster, whatever it is, we haven't seen it yet. Towards the end, we get almost like a Texas Chainsaw Massacre, like, dinner scene where he ties the therapist to the chair. Right, she's in the back rooms and he chokes her out, knocks her out, and then she wakes up. She's tied to a chair at a dinner table with a couple people around. It's like one person sitting at the table, one person's behind her next to a lamp in a wheelchair, and one person who I think is Clark's wife is standing in the corner of the kitchen. And Clark's there. And he's like, okay, so here's the thing. This place kind of has like memories of things in the real world. That's why things are like half coming through the walls. Again, it's not all explained. It's just hinted at. He's guessing. But the people have like multiple eyes and stuff. They look glitched out. So much like, I love the guy at the table. His shirt collar, it's like a normal shirt, but then he has another shirt collar and buttons down right here because he's like glitched. And if you played any of the games or read a lot of the lore of the Backrooms, you know a lot of the idea is like the idea that it's a glitch. It's a glitch in reality. So things are glitching through all the time. That's why birds come through and knock themselves out. And because they don't know that there's a portal there. Oops, I'm flying through the air and then I just disappear into the back rooms and hit a wall. And these people, their faces are like glitched out. It's super weird. It's super effective and creepy. They're not threatening. They're not even really moving, but they move just a little bit. And he also Clark is like, oh, the best thing about these people, they feel no pain. They're nothing. He takes a knife. He sticks it in the guy's neck. Doesn't move at all. She's, of course, terrified. She's like, oh, my God, one of my patients has effectively kidnapped me. And now I'm stuck here. And I might, I'm trying to talk him down. And he also goes, and the great thing about these people is you can eat them. And grabs pieces out of the dude's stomach. And they're just like these white foam, I don't know, it looks like the inside of furniture. And he says, like, they're furniture in here. They're just memories. They're half-remembered things out from outside of the back rooms. It's so weird. And again, none of it is explained. I kind of wish we had a shot of him eating. He actually didn't eat it. But again, it felt very Texas Chainsaw Massacre. We have this whole conversation between the two where he's kind of repeating to her side of the conversation that they had in the beginning of the movie, as well as she sells these like self-help cassette tapes where she's reading her book and it's just about the choices we make and this and that and pushing people away. And he's kind of repeating it back to her as they do this role play of her being the wife again. And the reason I think the woman in the corner is his wife is because he scalps her, puts the hair on the psychiatrist and is like, no, you're going to do the wife's voice. And then she refuses. She says, no, I'm scared of you. I don't know what's going on. Don't drag me down because you're having a problem, whatever. And then he's like, okay, and starts to like untie her. And he's just like, I'm sorry. I got carried away. And then the monster comes, and the monster is this big, like, weird, gangly puppet of him in the pirate outfit. And he just chomps into him and eats him, and then it becomes a chase, and chasing her around the back rooms, and she's trying to get away. They get back up into the store, but it's the back rooms version of the furniture store. It's still not reality. But there's a trap set there by the people from the very beginning of the movie who are like scientists in hazmat suits trying to map out the back rooms. Like, that's their mission. So we get Mark Duplass thrown in throughout the movie. Mark Duplass being an actor, but he's also made some movies. Hell, he's made a movie called Creep And it's fitting because he acts very creepy in this movie, where he is working for the company that is trying to map the Backrooms. They set a trap for the monster. The monster is like incapacitated because she keeps slamming the handprint that she had made with her mother before the house got demolished. She clearly got like a cast of it made so she could have that handprint with her forever. Because despite her tumultuous relationship with her mother, she still misses her, and that's her trauma that she's carrying with her, and then she uses that to beat the giant weird puppet pirate thing off of her, and then she runs for a different corner, like, hey, there's an opening there, and she runs for it, and that's when the hazmat guys are like, oh my god, who is this? And we got to bring her out, and she's knocked out, right? Then we open at the end of the movie to she's in an office building that we have hinted at and seen throughout the movie. Mark Duplass is there asking her questions. Is this the man that you've seen that you were looking for in this furniture store? Can we confirm that this picture of the furniture store is the actual furniture store? She's like, yes. Where am I? He's like, we'll get to that. And is this the man? And he holds a picture of like the puppet coming after him, but the puppet is like censored out, is blacked out like the Epstein files. And he's like, but yeah, just focus on the man. Is this the man that you were looking for? She's like, yeah. And, she presses him, hey, like, what is going on? And he's like, look, we started out as an MRI company, and then we found the back room, we found that complex, and we've been doing that ever since. We even get a moment like earlier in his house, he's having dinner with his family, and we get a shot of like whatever the company's called, like AV Stag, I think it's called, gets $100 million grant from the government. And it's like, that's why we get all this flavor text of there is a company that's whole job is exploring the backrooms and whatnot. It reminds me of like the SCP Foundation, which is another creepypasta on the internet where people add their own lore to the video game Control, which I absolutely love. Is heavily based on the SCP Foundation and the Backrooms. The complex that you're in that game is very Backrooms-esque, and is changing all the time. It's so cool. Such a cool game. Definitely play that. Highly recommend. The sequel's coming out this year, so get on that, folks. I also forgot to mention that this reminded me of the movie series Cube, specifically Cube 2 Hypercube, because especially the way this movie ends and kind of abruptly, I thought it was going to have the same kind of ending as Hypercube, where she's taken out, there's all these scientists around, and then it just cuts to black, but there is a little bit more, which I appreciated, but it definitely gave me the Hypercube vibe of like, no, there is a organization studying this, and we find out it is that organization that Mark Duplass works for. And the liminal space of Cube, all three movies, very much reminded me of this while I was watching it. So I shout out Cube. I'll always take an opportunity to shout out the Cube series. I just love how it lets you sit in the uncomfortability of walking around. Like, how do you make a movie, a narrative, interesting of people walking around empty hallways? And you do it with sound design, you do it with a little bit of story, a little bit of characterization, just enough to move the characters forward. Why are they making these choices? Why are they going this way? And I think it wraps up in pretty, it's open-ended. Like, she is out, but then we get all these clips of like her knocked down house that was demolished in the Backrooms, and her half of like the psych ward in the Backrooms, and her giving an interview in the Backrooms, but it's not her, it's the like glitched out version of her. So there is a version of her that's still in the Backrooms. Is it her herself? Did she never make it out? I don't know. I think she did make it out, but there's just a copy of her. It's like a copy of a copy of a copy. It gets less and less defined over time. Very cool movie. I highly recommend it. check it out in the theater, or wait for it to come out on video, like I'm gonna do with Obsession. Maybe talk about that later in yet another top 10 horror movie videos. Check out that video I made, folks. I put work into it. But anyways, let me know what you thought about the Backrooms. Did you see it? Are you excited for it? Do you want more YouTubers to make movies? Let me make one, folks. Let me make one. And yeah, let me know what you think about this going forward, man. I think it was cool, but you know, I could see people saying, "Oh, it's boring. Nothing happens." Blah blah blah. That was the monster. I don't know. It's deeper than that, but also kind of surface level. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and have yourself a great Monday.